Hello, welcome to the Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 22, Survey Instrumentation. And our topic is Questionnaire Construction. All the data gathering techniques or instruments we have discussed earlier employ a set of questions to which the respondents are asked to reply. This set of questions is referred to as a questionnaire. For self-administered questionnaires, mailed questionnaires, as well as internet surveys, and as an interview schedule for face-to-face interviews and telephonic interviews. This section considers the type of questionnaires and the questions, discussing the guidelines for constructing a good questionnaire or interview schedule. In this section, we will discuss type of questionnaires, types of questions, designing a good questionnaire, and things to avoid in questionnaire construction. The first one is type of questionnaires. There are three types of questionnaires, namely structured, unstructured, and semi-structured questionnaires. Structured questionnaires use structured or closed questions that provide a respondent with a set of options, and it is expected that he picks up the one out of many. It does not give much freedom or choice to the respondent. These questionnaires are used when the respondent is a high-profile person or professional and who does not want to give longer time for the interview. The unstructured questionnaire includes only the open-ended questions without any options being provided to the respondents. The semi-structured questionnaires include both structured or closed and unstructured or open questions and are the most widely used in social research. Now the next point is types of questions. The first is structured or closed and unstructured or open-ended questions. As mentioned earlier, the structured questions provide the alternative multiple choice answers from which the respondent chooses an option. The following is an example. If the general elections were held today, for which party would you vote? Congress, BJP, CPIM, any other? Specify, do not know. The alternative answers for a structured question is printed out on the questionnaire, and either the respondent or the interviewers, depending on the type of instrument, ticks off the appropriate response. Another example of the structured question is the following. How do you feel about the central government's initiative to make education a fundamental right? Strongly approve, approve, ambivalent, disapprove, strongly disapprove, do not know. This question is better example of the structured or closed question than the first one because the alternative responses cover the full range of relevant approving or disapproving answers. The first question obviously fails by this criteria of completeness because it does not include current political parties, which are potential options. Notice that both questions have a do not know category. It is important to have such a category for structured questions because some respondents really may not know how they feel about such issues. However, the researcher generally does not volunteer this as a response alternative because many respondents would use it just to avoid making a decision among the other alternatives. On the other hand, unstructured or open-ended questions do not predetermine the possible answers from which the respondent must choose. The following is an example. What do you feel are the major problems facing our nation today? Instead of providing the possible answers, the questionnaire leaves space for the respondent to answer the question in his own words. In other words, the issue is left open. Such questions have the advantages of allowing for the expression of the depth and complexity of the respondent's feeling and attitudes about a particular topic. One disadvantage of unstructured questionnaires is that they produce data which is sometimes difficult to analyze quantitatively because the categorization of responses must take place after the data has been collected. In some cases, the answers given by respondents vary so much that it becomes impossible to discern a relatively small number of response patterns. This problem does not occur with the structured questions because the categories of response in questionnaire become the categories used for data analysis. Another important use of structured questions is in the measurement of abstract concepts such as anomalies, social class, etc., using an index or scale which combines several structured questions. It should be made clear that the structured or closed and unstructured or open-ended questions have their advantages and disadvantages, and that some topic areas are best covered by one or the other question type. For example, the issues for which there is general agreement about the possible alternative replies are best tapped by structured questions. However, structured questions sometimes inappropriately force respondents to select an answer from the irrelevant and predetermined options or choices. This is a major potential drawback with structured questions. Unstructured questions, on the other hand, provide the respondents the opportunity to open up and answer questions in their own terms. Unfortunately, such responses are sometimes difficult to interpret and analyze. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self-Learning podcast.